Even when there's no hope, you can still.
For just $699, you can buy the base model GF63 8C with an Intel Core i5-8300H CPU, 8GB of RAM, a 256GB SSD and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 GPU. An extra $300 boosts the graphics card to a more powerful GTX 1050 Ti and doubles memory capacity to 16GB. Our GF63 review unit, the most expensive configuration at $1,250, came with an Intel Core i7-8750H GPU, 16GB of RAM, a 256GB SSD and a secondary 1TB HDD, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti GPU. The MSI GF63 has plenty of USB ports for you to connect all of your peripherals. On the left side is a USB 3.1 Type-A port next to a central power input. The right side of the GF63 has two more USB 3.1 ports and a USB Type-C port. Sadly, no Thunderbolt 3. There is also an Ethernet port for a stable internet connection and separate mic and headphone jacks if you want to connect a professional microphone. On the back of the laptop is a lone HDMI input for connecting to a monitor. Although the GF63's 15.6-inch 1080p display is detailed, I wish it were brighter and more colorful. The display made the picturesque islands of Venice look drab and details were hard to make out in dark scenes, like when Nick Fury makes a surprise visit to Parker's apartment. On a positive note, the picture looked sharp and crisp when our friendly neighborhood superhero fights the bad guys in a besieged London. I then picked up an Xbox controller and played Rise of the Tomb Raider. Fortunately, I could still enjoy the beautiful wilderness in one of the year's most gorgeous games thanks to the GF63's detailed picture. The GF63's panel unsurprisingly covers only 73% of the sRGB color gamut. The display on the G5 1558% is even less appealing, but that doesn't excuse the GF63, which falls well short of the mainstream gaming average 107% and the Legion Y730's 135% vivid panel. Casual gamers won't have any complaints using the GF63's island-style keyboard, but more dedicated players will want to connect a mechanical keyboard. Fans of RGB lighting will also need to rely on an external solution since the GF63's keyboard only illuminates red. The NVIDIA GeForce 1050 Ti GPU housed within the GF63 can play most modern games at low settings, but you'll run into lag once you crank up the graphics quality. The GF63 maintained around 23 frames per second, below our 30 frames per second threshold, when I played Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the highest settings. While that result didn't make for the smoothest gameplay, I was still able to swing through a treacherous jungle, hunting wild game with my lethal bow along the way. I did experience some choppiness, so I turned the graphics down to low, where the GF63 held between 29 and 31 frames per second. Grand Theft Auto 5 played at a smooth 35 frames per second on the GF63, which, again, tops the G5 1532 frames per second and the Legion Y7 33 frames per second by a slim margin, but can't compete with the mainstream gaming laptop average 35 frames per second. Our GF63 review unit came armed with some serious power. The source of its excellent performance is an Intel Core i7-8750H CPU and 16GB of RAM. Thanks to those high-end components, the GF63 didn't break a sweat when I loaded 25 Microsoft Edge browser tabs, 4 of which played 1080p YouTube videos while 2 streamed HD Twitch streams.